Get higher, baby. Get higher, baby. Get higher, girl. Hey.
Hello, everybody, and hopefully, welcome back to the Knights of the Pageless Library. We're going to do something a little different, and we're going to put our plugs at the beginning this time. So, also, I'm here with Ryan, as always, my fellow. How are you doing, Ryan?
Uh, I'm not so bad.
Well, so I'm gonna put our plug. I'm gonna do our plugs right here. So, if you guys ever want to get a hold of us for any reason, our email is kotpl.pod@gmail.com, and please send us some hate mail. And whoever is the first person to send me hate mail, no matter how heinous, how vile, I'm gonna read it on the podcast. So, it's open invitation. We're also we our Twitter is at the Knights of the Pageless Library. Our YouTube, where if you want to watch the videos, I guess it's just the video with the audio, but hey, if that's your thing, it's your thing. It's on YouTube at Knights of the Pageless Library. And we also have a Facebook page at Knights of the Pageless Library. And also I want to say that I feel like this should go without saying, but we're knights, we're not pirates, so we don't ever steal any of these books, and I don't think you should ever do any of that either. Even if a book doesn't sound that interesting to you, if you want to listen to it, I feel like you should pay for it. That is just that's just how things work. You don't steal. We don't condone such behavior, and we wouldn't like you to do that either.
I concur with that. Plus, a lot of these things that we've been talking about lately, especially if you already have Audible, have been free. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
So why steal something that's free?
exactly. And as we say, uh, we get this stuff off Audible that we usually are doing on here. So if you are like, hey, that book sounds pretty good, but I don't want to pay for it. I'm just going to look up some random Joe Schmo on YouTube who reads it for free. Well, then your mileage is going to vary a lot from what we said. So,
Right. That is also very, very true. I didn't even think about it that way. But I mean, even if these books are like is something that you might not enjoy, like people put time and effort into them, and I feel like they should get rewarded for their effort. Even if I didn't like the book, like at least I paid the entry fee to have the experience that the book gave out.
yeah, which is also why we feel like we are allowed to be critics about it because no matter what, good or bad review, we still paid for it. So they still got our money.
Yep. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help you out here by making you spend your money a little wiser. And
Yeah.
today I feel like this is also I'm spoilers. I like this book. I'm gonna get it out of the way right now. So what this is a turbo episode too. This is a short book, but we are looking at Rivals, Frenemies Who Changed the World by Scott McCormick. And it is a dramatization, so it's narrated by a bunch of different people. It's about 2 hours and 55 minutes long. It was released this year. What month is the fifth?
Uh, May.
I, I'm bad at that. Yeah, it was
Me
released
too.
May 29th in 2018. I lied. It wasn't released this year. And if you have Audible, it is actually one of the free. It's actually only from Audible, and it's only in audiobook form. It's not like a book you can go up and buy. And it is free with your 30-day trial of Audible. But if you wanted to buy it because for some reason you just don't feel like being a part of Audible is worth it, it's $5.95. So how did you feel about this book, Ryan? How did you feel it was written? Let's start right there.
Okay, so I think that I like the way it was written. I liked the information that was being put across. I though on the other side of the coin, I did not like this book quite
Oh,
as much
really?
as no, not nearly as much as you did. So I'll get that out of the way right now. I wasn't a huge fan of this one.
You know, the funny thing is, like, comparing this to Tom Stranger and the things I didn't like about that book, this book does a lot and I liked them. So what's wrong with me? So
um,
this book it's kind of a historical, kind of like funny take on rivals that have happened throughout history. And Yeah, like that's basically what it is. And so like the narrator is just reading you basically two sides of a conflict over something. The one that I really appreciate, it's four separate conflicts, and he goes it pretty into detail in talking about them. The one that I really liked was between Adidas and Puma, which I didn't know that there was such big history between those two shoe
Right.
brands. And he gets into like really like where it came from and how they got their start and all those things. And I think the reason I like this book a lot is because I love history. I'm like a big history nerd, and so like getting this kind of like intimate history of things that it like because I like Adidas shoes. Like those are things that I use, and like knowing kind of the history of those, like I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I thought that part was cool. That one was also my favorite of the four. So the four kind of short stories are Cope and Marsh. They are talking about like
They're paleontologists.
right. It's about like their
The
race
Bone Wars.
for dinosaur stuff. Yeah, and then the Adidas and Puma. That one's pretty self-explanatory. Those are the clothing and shoe companies. And then it was the Queens, right? Queen Elizabeth and
Yeah.
Queen Mary
Of the Scots.
of the Scots, right? So
Which
who
that
was going
one
to rule
was
England?
kind of lame, if I'm honest. It's more about like religion.
Yeah. And then there was Hamilton and Burr.
Right, who are American politicians. Back in the days when somebody said something bad about your mama, you went out and you dueled.
Yeah, you had an actual duel, which I thought some of that stuff was pretty interesting.
Yeah, me too. Some of that stuff is hilarious, actually.
And so this one being, even though it's a dramatization, sort of, it's also, we have our main narrator mostly for the whole thing. And then you get a lot of like kind of random background noises or random other people talking in it.
Well, a lot of the time they'll be like, and Queen Elizabeth said, and then they'll do a voice, and it'll be Queen Elizabeth talking.
Right. And I actually didn't like it very much.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. Surprisingly enough, I did not like that very much.
See, I thought that was really well done.
And I don't know. To me, some of the stuff that fell short was like some of the jokes I felt like kind of fell flat for me.
Oh,
Like,
I didn't think it was that funny, but
well, that was just it. Is like he was trying to make it funny, and there were parts that were funny. Like I really did appreciate in the Queen's one when he was like, and then she was killed, and the little sound effect would play, and the guy
oh,
was
it's like
"Ugh."
it's just like the
Yeah.
same thing over and over and over again.
And
I thought that was hilarious.
So I liked that, and the explosions one I kind of chuckled at that a couple times.
Yeah, there are a
But
few parts of the book like an explosion goes off, and he's like, "There was no explosion. Don't
the
confuse the
narrator,
people by having an explosion."
yeah, it
I-
would do like this very like self-aware thing where the narrator
Yeah.
like talks to the staff, and I kind of like that.
They
But
break the fourth wall a lot, and I mean it is very much like it is designed to be an audiobook from the beginning. I get the feeling that it was like
yeah,
written to be read to someone. Because it is very like nudge nudge. I know I'm telling you a story, ha 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 ha, like the whole time. And
yeah.
normally I don't like that, but I feel like it was done well here.
Right. And I guess the positive thing though on all of these four stories is that you can learn a lot. It's definitely told in an interesting way where you do still learn some stuff. Like I did think it was interesting to learn, you know, the rivalry with Adidas and Puma basically started in one family that split
Yeah.
off two different
Well,
directions,
yeah.
and they were just constantly slandering each other after that. Like literally, like at the whatever it was, like the Olympics. You know, one company would have the other company's stuff screened and not let into the arena. Like that's crazy.
Yeah,
talk.
the Adidas one is by far I like for me that story alone I think is worth a listen to this book.
Right.
I mean Ryan might feel a little differently.
I think my feelings on the whole thing are if you can get this one for free, as we did with it being a Audible original and it was one of the monthly free ones that we picked. I would definitely listen to it for free because it's very short too. It's like, you know, it's only 3 hours. But I wouldn't pay for this one. Like I wouldn't pay the $6 or use
okay.
it. I
See,
wouldn't.
and I have to say, if you are a fan of history, even in like the most obscure sense, like you just like hearing about old things, or or anything like that, I feel like this is like a must listen for you. Like if you like history in any way, I feel like it's presented in a really fun and interesting way, and I'm pretty sure it's decently accurate. Like I don't feel like they would put a lot of the stuff in there if it wasn't true.
No, and I'm sure you're absolutely right. I'm sure this is all accurate information. And this I will say, if there were more subjects presented in this way, I'd be very interested. But with
Well,
like
there is a second book that is actually coming out the day we release this, which is crazy to me, and it just happens to be a random coincidence.
yeah, and it looks like it's going to be the same length, and it's going to have a
It's a
ton
little
of
bit
pictures,
shorter.
so it'll probably be told in a very similar fashion. So
Yeah.
I just think if there were more subjects told in this way, I would probably be more inclined. I think though at some point, like the dinosaur one was interesting, like the paleontologist one was interesting, but for some reason at some point I was getting bored of that one, and I would just
I
wanted
see.
it to go
I didn't like that one either because I actually already knew about all that stuff
right.
from Drunk History of all things.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay, so hey, that's a great comparison though. That is kind of what these little things are, is basically someone telling the story of how the event went down. So
Yeah.
that is a good comparison. This guy's
That
not
is
drunk though.
this guy's not wasted.
Although that's what makes Drunk History so funny.
Yeah, Drunk History is a good show if you guys like history and like Comedy
And it's
Central.
accurate, and it's
Yeah.
like real information. So that's a good way to learn stuff.
Well, so I'm gonna recommend this. I think even if you like history, it's a must listen to. If you don't like history, then I don't really see the appeal for you. Like it's not really that funny, but it is interesting at least.
Yeah, and that's the I'm gonna say, like I already said, that I wouldn't pay for this one, but if you can get this one for free, definitely go ahead and give it a listen. Just be prepared for that though. It is like a history lesson. It's not while it is a comedy, I didn't think there were that many standout funny parts of it.
No, I mean there were a few parts that made me smile, like the explosions and like
Yeah.
a lot of the funny stuff is them messing around with like what they can do with audio,
Right.
which
Yeah,
is cool.
Yeah.
So
The dying noise just got me every time.
yeah, that because it's just the same sound, and they use it like 10 times.
It caught me off. It would catch me off guard too, because he'd be like, he shot him in the chest and he died. It's the same noise every time, and then I wouldn't even be thinking about it later, and they'd be like, and then her mother passed away.
Yeah. Well, the first time they use it, it's because it's kind of like a kid. It sounds like a younger kid being like oof, like something like that. Because that's like what happens is like a kid dies, but then they just keep using it over and over and over again, and it's pretty funny.
It was pretty funny, actually, pretty entertaining at least. So
I think that's all I got to say.
kind of all I have to say about this one too. It was pretty short. I mean, it's all right. I think it was all right.
I loved it. So I listened to it 3 times in the space of 3 days. So
that tells you a lot. I listened to it once while I was doing yard work.
And I'm sure he was like disgusted the whole time. He's just sitting there scowling off in the distance. I cannot stand this garbage.
No, I listened to the whole thing, and I did my best effort to actually, retain some of the information. But
yeah, when worst comes to worst, if you listen to this, maybe you'll learn something.
Well, yeah, that is true.
Well, I think that's all I got to say, Ryan.
Yeah, that's I'm good with that one.
All right, guys, we'll catch you next time.
What are we? What are we gonna do next time?
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. So next we are doing Hard Magic, and then followed up by another Turbo episode. Oh man, we just talked about this, and I just forgot.
The Conception of Terror.
Right. With The Conception of Terror, we both never listened to. Have no idea. Hard Magic, I'm just going to tell you guys that we both listened to it a couple times over the span of about 5-6 years. So it's going to be a long episode.
Yeah, that one's going to be
And it's also written by Larry Correia, so he seems to be one of our favorites as of late.
This will be his 3rd appearance on here already.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, Hard Magic might be the best book he wrote.
Whoa, easy.
What? I didn't say anything.
Spoiler alert, jeez. But yeah, Larry Correa, giving you a shout out here. You're the only reappearing guest on our show so far, so you're welcome.
Please email us, you bald bitch.
Yeah, please email us. Oh my gosh, do it after the Hard Magic episode though, because
Yeah.
we'll have some good stuff to say, and we won't call you
Yeah.
a bald
Don't
bitch
listen to the Tom Stranger episode.
Yeah, don't email us directly after the Tom Stranger one. Just
Actually,
wait.
you can. You can be our first hate mail.
That's true. That would be an interesting story to tell. Is that
Yeah.
if Larry Correa was our first, not only mail but hate mail.
All right. Well, we're over 15 minutes, so we gotta stop.
Well, let's wrap this one up. Well, hope to catch you guys in the next one.
Bye.